Welcome back to the predicted 23 for round 10. My name is Ari. We're coming up against West Coast this week on Sunday at 4:40 in Perth. Back to the graveyard shift. No more Friday nights for us, unfortunately. Before we get into it, we want to hear from you. Do you disagree, agree with the takes? Let us know in the comments. We love hearing from you. Quickly to go over last week, I said Philippou would come in, which of course he did. Got that right. Said Travalia would come out for him. Got that right. Mason Wood did not end up being fit, and so O'Connell kept his spot in the side. 50-50, we'll take it. Let's see how we go this week and just get straight into it. Here is the team. Mason Wood in, Dan Butler in, Dougal Howard out, and Lance Collard out. So let's talk about it. Mason Wood, I just think if he's fit, you pick him. It looks like he should be this week. They said as long as he gets through contact training. Not sure what ended up happening last week, but he's listed as a test again. So if he's fit, you pick him. Let's talk about Dougal Howard next. Very unfortunate. 6 to 7 week hamstring injury. We just got him back. That back line was looking a lot better with him in it. Bit of support for Cal Wilkie, but he's going to be tested again, unfortunately, which... Yeah, I think it's obviously how it comes out. I think what we're going to have to do there is swing Caminiti back into the back line, and Mason Wood's going to have to continue to play forward as of now while we deal with no Dougal Howard, no Max King. It's unfortunate, but, that's AFL for you. Players get injured. These things happen. And then a more contentious one, and originally I just had that one change, Wood in, Howard out. But after thinking about it, Dan Butler, he's a test. If he's fit, which I think he will be, he's going to come in and take Lance Collard's spot. So unlucky for the youngster. But the reason I've done this is Collard, I think if you had asked me a few weeks ago if Butler was fit, does he come in for Collard? I would have said no. The last few weeks, he's just dropped off a little bit, relegated to the sub. And then he's, it's very difficult to come into a last quarter of a high pressure game and have an impact, but it was just zeros off across the board. Struggled to have an impact, but I don't think he's had a great run in the senior side. I think the most consecutive games he would have played in his short AFL career. So a lot to take out of it. Get back into the twos, kick some goals, and then come back when there's a spot for him. So yeah, and Dan Butler, I just think we want that experience. The team that we're fielding, there's a few changes to what it was last year. I'd just be interested to see how he would go. And does Dan Butler still have it? We don't know. I want to see. I'm interested to see what he could produce for us. And I just like adding a bit more senior experience into that forward line. With Max Holt, Cooper Sharman, Mitch Owens being on the younger, less experienced side. So yeah, contentious change, but that is where we're going. Let's talk about who else could be in contention, because there's a few this week. There could be a few more changes, or the changes I've picked, they could be switched around a bit. Zach Jones just had a monstrous game in the VFL. I got his stats here: 30 touches, 3 goals, 5 tackles, 4 marks. Like just an outstanding game from him. Why am I not picking him? It's because I just want to give Boxall and Garcia more game time, more exposure. They are the future. Neither of them were terrible on the weekend. They didn't play fantastic. Boxall's only playing about 49% game time anyway, which is why I've got him picked as the sub, which I'll talk about in a second. But I'm more interested in seeing these guys play than Zach. Zach Jones is there if we need him. He's, good leadership, good experience on the training track. And maybe it's unlucky and maybe I'm being stiff on him, and he does come into side this week. But I just, right now, putting him in would mean taking Garcia or Boxall out, which I'm just not prepared to do, to be honest. So Jones definitely in contention, but I am not picking him. Travalia as well, huge game, 30 touches, 3 tackles, 8 marks. Had a strong performance. Just I can't find a spot in the team for him, which I know we're coming off of a loss, but again, dropping someone like him would mean a Ryan Burns comes out, which I've dropped Ryan Burns in my side the last few weeks, but I mean, he was fantastic on Friday night. Certainly not going to be dropped after that performance. A Darcy Wilson, I just think, is still holding on to that spot. So for Travalia, just continue to put consistent performances in at VFL level, and that spot will open up, sooner rather than later for him. So unlucky this week, but just got to continue performing strongly in the twos. And yeah, Liam Henry, let's talk about him. Also played all right. Had the 18 touches. Not his best game, and he's someone I really want to get into the side, but it just looks like he's out of favor with the coaches right now. I don't know exactly why. He came back after injury, played a bad half, got subbed out. We haven't seen him since. So I'd like to see him in the side pretty soon. But it looks like that probably isn't going to happen in the next few weeks. So hopefully he can, put in a stronger performance in the twos. Hunter Clark as well, played well, 24 touches, 7 tackles, good from him. He's I would honestly pick him over Zach Jones. If Boxall or Garcia was going to be taken out this week, I would want Hunter Clark to take that spot. But as I said, I'm running with the 2 young guns. At this stage, Angus Hastie and Ari Schollmaker are always pretty consistent performances. They're going to get their opportunities. This is not the week for either of them, I don't think, though. So let's talk about who's holding their spots, who maybe wouldn't or maybe shouldn't be, who are, there's some contention around them. Jack Higgins, there's no mention of him in the injury report, which I mentioned before. But yeah, if there was some issue with him, I would say Collard keeps his spot. Burns, just to reiterate what I just said, I've been harsh on him the last few weeks, rightfully or wrongfully so, but he had a great game Friday night, so he's certainly keeping his spot. Wilson, I also just mentioned, a few bad moments Friday night, but overall I think he's improving, coming out of that form slump that he had earlier in the year. So yeah, I'm still backing him in. Anthony Caminiti stays in the side, goes into the back line, as I mentioned. Liam O'Connell, if there was someone to be dropped, it would be him. I just don't see who could come in for him, and I just think Ross is going to pick him again. Certainly didn't do anything wrong, O'Connell. I thought he was going to get suspended for a second there for the Mitch McGovern hit, but turns out that was just a chest injury and not a head injury, so apparently that's okay. But yeah, no, he keeps his spot. Garcia and Boxall I've already talked about. And yeah, Brad Hill. I just want to touch on this one. So he had a poor performance, I want to say, round 1 in the early stage of the season. This as well, that was one of the worst, probably the worst Brad Hill performance I've seen in St Kilda. And I just want to preface that by saying I'm not a Brad Hill hater. I think he gets just pretty mistreated by a lot of the fans. People want to talk about his contract, how much money he's on, all that. But at the end of the day, he's a good player for us. He plays well. His GPS numbers are off the charts. He's generally a good user of the ball for us. But yeah, Friday night wasn't a good game for him. I'm keeping him in the side. I expect him to respond, and he certainly would want to be doing that too, so that we're not having this conversation again, because he's a senior player and he should be playing well. So I'll just leave it at that. But to go over the team before we wrap up, from the full back line, we've got Liam Stocker, Anthony Caminiti, and Jimmy Webster at halfback, Nasai Wanganeen-Miller and Jack Sinclair, who just keep getting it done week after week. So shout out to those guys. And then Callum Wilkie, who, it's the same story for him at centre half back. And then on the wings, Wilson and Brad Hill, hoping for a big game from both of them. Half forward, we got Max Hall, Mason Wood hopefully returning, and Mitch Owens. On the full forward line, we got Jack Higgins, Cooper Sharman, and hopefully a Dan Butler return. In the midfield, Mateus Philippou, Jack Steele, Jack McRae, and Rowan Marshall supporting them in the ruck. I didn't mention this, but I'm hoping Philippou gets some more midfield minutes with Boxall being the sub, because I think, just more damaging in there, even though he was good for us in the forward line. On the bench, Liam O'Connell, Hugo Garcia, Ryan Burns, Marcus Windhager, and as I just said, Hugh Boxall as the sub. He's been getting low minutes anyway, and I just think out of everyone on the team, he's the most likely. I don't really want him to be the sub. I prefer him just be in the 22, but given the magnets that we've got, I just think that's probably where his is going to fall. But yeah, emergencies, Harry Boyd, Zach Jones, and Toby Travalia. So that's the side for this week. Not a big eventful week at selection, but still certainly a bit to talk about. Let's hope just for a big win against the Eagles. We need it. Let's go 5-5 and keep our season alive. So until next week, Sainers, we'll talk then, and up the Saints.